A lot of people think that one of the reasons behind our move to go tiny was environmental activism, but really it was more of a side effect because we were really looking for more intentional living, and knowing what we needed and just paying for enough. And really enough was more of a financial incentive for us overall.
Sure.
There were other environmental reasons, peak oil, climate change and that sort of thing that made it a doubly beneficial for us besides just being economical. But the economics come mainly from the resources and the cost of the resources. So by minimizing our what we're using and just using exactly enough of what we need, we could meet our needs and then as a side effect actually be very small in our carbon footprint.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. In 2009, we taped a conversation with Tammy Strobel and Logan Smith about simple living and the freedom that it brought you both. And I'm happy to visit them again in 2013 to see lots has happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how you got into doing simple living.
It was a variety of forces kind of brought us into it, but it basically came to a point where we had everything that we were told that we needed to be happy. We had all the professional education, professional jobs, decent income, living in a nice apartment, had nice cars, flashy wedding rings, good spouses. We had a great marriage. So all the things that you are taught to believe that are great, but we felt really guilty because we weren't happy. We were happy with each other, but our lifestyle was just left something to be desired. So we started changing things and started living more intentionally, and that intentional living has brought us to basically living really tiny.
Well, when we met you in 2009, you were living you'd moved into downtown Sacramento, midtown, and were living in a small apartment. You had sold your cars, right? You were going around on bikes and transit and so on. And very few possessions. I mean, so you had really pared down the stuff in your lives a lot. You were, the dreams that I remember from that time is you were working on your PhD. Congratulations.
Great. I've graduated.
Yay! That's a big dream fulfilled.
Yes.
Right? Tammy was dreaming of not working at the nonprofit and moving towards writing, and she has since published a book, which I need to pull out here and have her sign for me. Remind me the title.
You Can Buy Happiness and It's Cheap.
Yeah, and how one woman's radical simplification, how she's done that, how you together have done that. And the third thing is the gleam in your eye was a tiny house.
Right.
And we are sitting on the steps of the fulfillment of that dream.
Right.
So in 4 years, you've gotten some major, really, I would think, satisfying accomplishments and probably a lot of learning.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of empirical failures all the way around to actually learn from all the way through. So we've accomplished quite a bit in that time, and can't wait to show you more.
Well, I'd love that. And I will add that we got to visit Dee Williams, thanks to you. Dee Williams, whose simple house is a model, I think, for yours here. And loved meeting with her. I mean, both her philosophy of life and what it led to with the tiny house. In fact, wasn't she connected to this tiny house?
Yeah, she's the architect that designed this tiny house overall.
So thank you, Dee.
And our direct inspiration for going and actually pursuing this in general.
Great. Well, why don't we start with a tour of the house?
Okay.
Okay, let's do it. I'd love a tour. Yeah?
Yeah, let's go inside.
Cute.
So the front of the house is designed a lot like Dee Williams
was
is
it
that
just
you
a little
mentioned.
porch?
Right.
Nice, yeah.
When you walk into the kitchen on your left, we have this wonderful little stove that runs off of denatured alcohol, and we actually got it from a sailboat that was being sold by an older couple. It's about 15 years old. It was made in Sweden, stainless steel and glass.
Lovely.
And Yeah,
Why
it's a
did you
wonderful.
choose alcohol?
A lot of reasons, mainly because it was simple for us. You have to think about your fuel source when you get into it. We didn't have cars, so we were going by bike. So hauling a huge propane tank by bike is a little takes a little more coordination.
Sure,
so
sure.
the denatured alcohol you can buy at any hardware store, and just in a gallon size, and
It won't explode.
it won't explode.
It's safe.
Yeah, it's much safer overall. But yeah, one of the favorite parts of the house is the oven, because it's so alternative.
I was going to say, I didn't expect you. You get to have a little oven. Question: as a cook, I'd want to know, because I don't think I've worked with alcohol, is whether you can get it hot enough to do like a fried dish. Does it get hot enough?
Absolutely. It does everything a normal oven should do, even the oven down below. It gets, I believe the thermometer gets up to 500 degrees, but I've done dishes at 425 before, so casseroles and things. So one of the things with going tiny is that you have a lot less materials to worry about when you're building this small, so you can afford more higher quality things like knotty pine is our interior paneling, bamboo as our countertop, hemlock for our cabinetry. So everything is, and stainless steel appliances like the oven overall.
Yes.
So there's things that we can do with materials that you can't normally afford in a larger house, just because it gets cork flooring is another example. It's something that we actually inherited from another building project, so we reused materials
nice.
to put it in.
Keep
and
using.
it's kind of the sheep's wool of the trees. They can take that bark off, and the tree still lives, and then it can grow more bark. And
truly
everything.
renewable.
Right.
If you're doing it at the right level. So what do you do for your water source?
Our water source for the last couple plots of land that we've lived on has been from main grid water, so a pump water or well water or city municipal water, and it's basically from a garden hose spigot that we run through a traditional RV type setup with filters and that sort of thing. So eventually, if we get in more of a off-grid situation, if we buy a piece of land, we want to move the house onto this piece of land that doesn't have many utilities, we could have a cistern with like more of a gravity-fed setup. But for now, we just have the pressurized water from on the grid, and the same thing with our electricity. Plug straight into the grid power from the main house.
Right.
Our power bill that we run off with our neighbors is only about $5 a month, typically. A little higher in the winter, a little less a little higher in the summer and the winter, and a little less, of course, in the more mild seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to me that this tiny house or tiny houses are intended to be able to take access from those centralized resources.
Right. Yeah.
And you have your own small house and privacy, but you don't have to it's not about total self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's actually part of the reason why our whole downsizing that we were discussing earlier is that we have tried to open ourselves up more to our community so that we are less closed off, because we've noticed that people in our relationships are what actually make us happy. Even though we had all the stuff and all the wealth and all the material wealth that comes with civilized culture, we weren't really happy with all the stuff, but we were more happy with our relationships. And when we devoted more time to our relationships by minimizing our material commitments, that we could open up and actually start helping out with chores around the house of our neighbor's house and that sort of thing, sharing resources. Do we really need to own 2 lawnmowers for 2 lots next to each other? We can share that kind of thing. So it applies to a lot of other resources as well.
You do not have cabinets.
Right,
here.
and we did that intentionally because we put all the cabinetry below
down,
because we wanted to make sure that we had the feeling of space.
Got it.
So when we look out, everywhere you look in the house, if you're washing dishes, you're looking out a window. If you're looking out the front, you can actually, there's windows in the doors and windows in the front. So also there's nothing blocking, because we'd been to several different tiny houses, and storage is important, but it's not really the point when you're living tiny. You're not really thinking about getting the maximum amount of storage per volume, because there's something to be said with negative space that we actually makes us feel like we can expand into that space emotionally. So we put storage up high so that we have coffee cups, tea kettle, a little coffee strainer and tea strainer, and then little plates. We use a lot of camping gear. because it's nestable, stackable, and
Yes.
then it's also high quality. And we can use it camping when we go camping too,
Right,
dual
right,
purpose uses.
right.
And then glasses. And similar here, we try to
Use
use the bottom
spices.
side of the shelving to where we have the spices. And you go through the spices relatively quickly, so even though they're exposed to the sunlight, they shouldn't degrade too fast. And also we see how much we have left because it's glass containers. They're aesthetic, so they actually look nice.
It's very lovely.
And they're actually pretty easily installed. Basically, under our salt, you can see there's just a screw.
One screw in the lid.
In
That's
the top,
it. Nice.
so that it's not anything fancy. It's basically just using these really inexpensive mason jars that you could get at any grocery store for probably $1 each.
Actually, while you're here, you get me looking. We
Yeah.
got LED little marine-like little lights.
Yeah, they're LEDs.
Oh, and it's nice. And it
little puck
curves.
lights,
You
they
can
call it. Yeah, you can aim it down.
aim it
at
down
what
to where you're
cooking.
working on.
Yeah, and we actually got those from IKEA, and they were a good value. Although the whole mechanism was mainly made for cabinets, not for actual
Real use.
Real use.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I believe there's another company in California that makes LEDs called Affordable Quality Lighting that we probably go with in the future, just because the IKEA stuff was very affordable for us with the construction, but we'd probably want to go with a more higher quality model, just so we make sure that it doesn't break down in the future, and lighting's important.
Okay, I want to go down to our feet because
Okay.
you showed me earlier the niftiest thing that should be in every kitchen.
Right, yeah, so they're kick plate drawers. So where normally just a traditional kick plate would be, we have these spaces that hold all of our junk. So all of our cords and our ugliness we can throw under there, just miscellaneous tools and things.
I just love that space isn't just empty.
Right.
I mean, that's
You
part of
try
good
to
design.
use a lot of it. And again, storage isn't the key component, but when you can use the storage, you use it, because you might have to expand into that space at some point.
right. Back here behind the door, sort of half hidden.
Is the bathroom.
Okay.
And the bathroom has the same lighting that we were talking about with the kitchen. And these are actually for, these are again IKEA invention type thing, but they are cables, tension cables, so we can hang a shower curtain around this and actually make it into a shower in addition to a bathroom. So it can be
Wow.
a dual purpose thing. And our light fixture is a waterproof light fixture
I see.
as well.
Okay, you cover kind of a cover on it to keep
Right,
it.
so that it's got a gasket around it so that we can, keep the electricity from being mixing with the water, even with a shower curtain type thing. And then we've got stainless steel around the outside so that it's waterproof, so we can do more of a sitting shower type thing. We would remove the composting toilet, of course, out, and then this is a false floor. Underneath it is actually
Is there a shower pan?
yes,
kind
it's a
of
shower
thing
pan,
under
and I won't open it up just
That's
because it's a
fine.
bit of a
We'll
hassle.
trust
Yeah,
that.
but you can see a little bit of the white
I see the
fiberglass edge there, and so that
So,
it can
so
convert
this is
to
a
a shower.
box that just comes out, and this is basically a box.
Right, yeah,
Well,
and it's got a bucket in there, the very relatively low tech as far as you want to go as the nomenclature, and then a container for the liquid waste as well, because we actually have in the composting toilet we have
I see.
liquid waste and a solid waste, so it separates.
I see. Okay.
And I believe in you already have an episode on composting, and
We
it
did.
actually talks about the separate. It's a Swedish technology that basically diverts the
urine
liquid
goes in one place.
and then the solid waste goes in another. And then that way, when you're composting, you can control the composting mixture, so you don't have too much liquid in there, or not enough carbon material in there, so you can add.
So, since you are being hosted at someone else's home, are you? I mean, I would expect it's your responsibility to dispose of these in sensible ways. You know, if they have a garden,
Right.
is that?
We actually, so we have like a 50-gallon drum, similar to actually all we've learned about this whole system was from the episode that you recorded
The
on
Pee and Poo
composting.
Show.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
So it's
Oh, that's
basically the
great.
same
All right.
exact
Okay,
system
okay.
with a 50-gallon leftover recycled food container that we put a top over, and then it composts over time. And then when we finish the composting, we usually use it on trees and shrubs. We don't use it on
Vegetables and
that sort of thing, just because even when we test it for bacteria and harmful things like that, we just want to be safe and just don't want to combine those two. But trees and shrubs need organic material as well.
So are there 2 buckets underneath here?
Correct.
Is that what?
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. And we do actually we've played around with actually having a hose connection going out through the shower drain and mixing with our gray water container of mixing the urine and the gray water, because the urine doesn't actually convey any disease. I think there's only one disease in the world that was mentioned on that episode. Yeah, so basically the urine is clean, so we can use the gray water to water trees and shrubs as well with the urine.
So you have both gray water from the kitchen sink,
and it combines,
combines
into
with
the shower.
Urine in the shower, and the shower.
Correct. And what we use as a cover material is peat moss. So basically,
so that's what you combine with the solid waste.
Correct. Yeah, just to basically we're adding the nitrogen basically, and we need something to add the carbon so that we make a complete soil. And it also, buries everything, so there's no smell or anything else. It's only about 2.5 feet on the width and about 3.5 feet or 4 feet on the length, but it's big enough, kind of like a roller coaster. You keep your hands and arms in. And then at our door, we actually share a door with a closet, so that it's just a sliding door, so that if we're in the bathroom, we have privacy, but we don't worry about the closet door being open. And then when no one's in the bathroom, we can open this up so that we get the wind, be able to see the window and the lighting.
Fresh and the open space that it also affords.
Right, yeah, so you don't feel like you're in the kitchen with it being like a wall behind you or something.
This narrow wall.
Yeah. We've got some more storage up high here as well, above, between the loft joists. Yeah, we've got space.
So it's got some length. Computer.
And empty water bottles and bicycle lights.
So I see that in a sense you've adapted from your camping experiences. I mean, I see that with the plates and water bottles.
And everyone has that experience where they go camping and they come back home and why do I need all this stuff? I just spent like 2 weeks out in the forest with a backpack full of stuff, and that was
all I needed to live.
A lot of people have an experience when they're in college living in a dormitory, sharing a room with somebody, and it being one of the best times of their life. And it's because they had the least amount of material commitments, they had a close bond with another human being, usually depending on the roommate. But even in
you have your community, you have your college community,
exactly.
or the groups that you're part of.
And you get to go to your classes, interact with lots of people and all of that. So and so continuing on into the great room.
The great room.
So basically, as you're coming in, you have this feeling of space. So you're walking in, and it's relatively close in quarters. There's still windows and light coming in, but you're drawn to this window, and you're drawn to this area. And when you walk in, you see the vaulted ceiling, and it really has a tremendous feeling of space.
It's interesting. It's like this, when we walked into Dee's, it's like, oh, this is not a small house. This is not a tiny house. When you can have that much volume,
it tricks your eyes and your mind a little bit to kind of push that light away by having light projected up, by having these open spaces.
Lots of windows. Looking at what you've done with the space, a drop-down table, nice.
Right, it is actually another IKEA invention. If you can't tell, we like the organization. It's called a Nororbo, something like that. It's basically a flip-up table, birch. It's relatively simple in its construction.
It's a drop leaf.
Right, and then you could set your tea down or whatever, and then be able to do that and not have to worry about having to go through the rigmarole.
Extra hands.
Right.
You also have folding chairs that are comfortable chairs. These are not,
Yeah, this is a Stackmore is the name of the company. It's got a little cat fur on it overall, but basically it's a traditional folding chair that we open up the top, and it opens in a different way from the top to the bottom. And it's got a nice pad on
cushion.
it.
It doesn't take a lot of space.
I haven't used this one in a while, as you can see, but it's got basically a nice aesthetic to it. It's got a good pad to it. It's stable to sit on, and it just comes back up so that we can store it away either outside or under the bench. Overall
under the bench. So what have we got?
So
down here, you've got storage.
Right, storage.
It in all
we've actually got storage in the back too, in that 1 foot bump out for
camping. Did you get access from outside?
No, we can only access it from inside.
From in here.
It made the siding a little bit easier to do it that way versus having doors opening outside. So on top is a bench. And I don't know how much we want to go into, but basically this is hinges, and this flips out to make it an actual wider bed.
And the whole works. It's across the whole length.
Right, and then we have wings that come out, and so this supports
smart.
the extension. And so we can have more of a twin size bed versus a single size bed. So when we have a guest over, we can have one bed over. Or like recently, my partner Tammy injured her back, and so getting into the loft made it difficult to get up and down the stairs during the night, and also just overall our comfort level.
Right.
And so being down here has been a really nice option for her to have an alternative.
What's wonderful is that you have so many windows in here, and you've got over here, what is it, French doors, right? I mean, it's like this is your little patio, even though you don't have the out into.
We haven't expanded the patio yet, but yeah, we've got stairs at least that lead outside, so it works.
Right.
Well.
Well, I mean, it will vary where you are and what you can do. It's nice.
And it really helps with any guests that don't feel comfortable in a small space. They always have a feeling where there's a door at the front and there's a door at the side. We've got our pantry.
Some food storage.
We built it as a book storage, but it's actually become kind of a standing office for Tammy.
Oh, I see.
Overall.
So she's got her keyboard here.
Yeah.
And she can just stand here, and there's her.
Right, and her laptop. Yeah.
By the way, there's Tammy's book.
Yeah.
You can buy happiness. And it's cheap, which is wonderful.
And it's basically our story of simplifying, and it's just a breakdown. Tammy got so many requests with her blog, Rowdy Kittens, that she wanted to share our story, and so did a publishing house, so New Way Publishing. Yeah.
Sound system?
Yeah, we've got a little Bose Wave radio that's probably also about 20 years old. We inherited that from our in-laws, and it provides a tremendous amount of sound. We actually put the outlet up there, designed it just so we could have that radio up there.
Nice.
And the mason jars, we love
just
the look, just for all the grains that we have. And again, we eat them on a basis that, so if we have a little sunlight breaking them down, it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, beans and rice and lentils and a bit of flour and all of that. So
pretty stuff.
Yeah, it can show off aesthetically and then also be used well. And our air conditioner, speaking of appliances, it's one of the smallest models they make. And we didn't need the wings, of course, because our windows are so darn small that we just insulated a little bit along the sides. But when we moved from Oregon, all you needed was a fan. We just did like a whole house fan approach where we hung a fan in the window from our little hook here, and then blew the air out, sucked the air in through the loft window, and we could have basically a cooling effect. But in California, in the Central Valley, it really doesn't even get cool at night. So it was kind of crucial to be able to have something. And this is only a 500 watt, 5,000 BTU system, which is the smallest again, one of the smallest they make, the smallest the traditional companies make. And it's been great for us. It cools us off.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
well.
when you get to 110 in Chico, you just like.
Right,
you need
and it
something.
cools off to 90 at night or something. It's just,
Actually, what do you use for space heating in
we
cool weather?
We don't have it in the house right now, but we have been just using a radiant oil heater. So basically just an electric system that you just plug in, and it just radiates out heat, and then that oil can use that pretty efficiently. And again, our cost during the winter is probably around $15 to $20 a month, depending on how cold it is. And we've had it, as cold as I believe our coldest day when we were living at my family's ranch for a while was 8 degrees. And it kept us warm in that place too. So, and that was actually on the lowest setting, because if we turn it up to the medium or the high setting, it actually would roast us out of the space. And this is just, traditional.
That's the joy of a smallish space, right?
Yeah.
Right. So part of why you can do that smaller footprint is because you've got your private sleeping space as a loft,
right?
So I'd love to go up there.
Yeah, sure. And we actually, the cats sometimes use this as a scratching post, but then they also launch themselves into the loft. So this is how the cats get up. But
they also use. Go up?
Yeah, and they actually use the ladder as well. But Christy, the cat that's up here right now, uses that.
So you've got a hook-on ladder that can go anywhere.
Yeah, we've got basically these little hooks so that way we feel more stable when we attach the ladder going up.
Yeah, you don't want to.
And hook it here, and then just go straight up. And this space is about 4 feet up here to the top.
So you can just, I see you probably get accustomed to how much space, yes.
Yeah. We've got a window out the end.
With fresh air that opens.
Right.
Right.
And a
skylight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the spaciousness, is the light everywhere.
Right.
Huh, and a kitten.
Yeah.
Hello, kitten.
Yeah.
You like it up here. So lighting, compact fluorescence
Right.
and
Yeah. And we'll probably eventually go to LEDs, but the bulbs now are pretty expensive. And
Yes.
these CFLs that we've had for I think 6 years now, and they're still going. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to throw out things that work.
I
so.
understand. The compact fluorescence that we first got when we moved into our off-grid house, the only one 20 odd years ago, the
Yeah.
only one we've lost is because it got dropped. That's it. They're
right.
still going.
Yeah.
This is a nice space. So yeah, I can see
It's a cozy space. I mean, it's the interesting thing that we've noticed about the house is that you'd think being in a tiny space would feel claustrophobic, but for us it feels cozy because it's what you think being in an open ocean would make you feel free and and feeling like, or in a desert or something where you can see everything on either side, but you feel alone and you feel a little bit too, at least for me, I feel like it's just, there's so much that's hard to take in, whereas with the walls around it actually makes it feel more defined and easier to understand and more comfortable overall. So it's a small space, but it actually feels comfortable for us.
So how does it work for you two as a relationship? I can imagine that for many people, there are going to be some tough moments when you're in very different moods, or one of you is upset or angry or whatever, or there's also the sound issue. I mean, there's some real relationship things. So any off the top of the head, things that you've learned that living in a small space together?
Yeah, we actually, our marriage is actually better for it because we can't avoid problems that much. We've got to confront issues. So it's one thing that's been a big benefit. And if, we need space or time, then we go outside, or we take a walk or whatever, which actually usually helps if someone's angry or that sort of thing too anyway. So. Yeah, it's been great for our relationship. Of course, it wouldn't work for every relationship, but we've found ways to make sure that we get along fine, and you do that regardless of your living circumstance. If there's another person.
There's also issues like clutter and stuff. And I mean, one of the things that I find is that if I know where things belong, and you only have as much stuff as will fit, it kind of makes it easy.
Right.
But you also, it's like my office is our kitchen table. So I have to accommodate moving the office stuff away to eat at the kitchen table, the dining room table. Yeah. So you build new habits.
Right. Yeah. You just adapt to the new space. Yeah. I mean, that's one wonderful thing of humans and mammals is we adapt.
Tammy started a book talking, or one of the things she points out, and you mentioned, is about you weren't happy in that other life, and I think that if we looked at an awful lot of people in our have more culture, a lot of people not happy.
Right.
Well, so I want to ask you if you were on the happiness index, where you'd put yourself now?
Out of what, like a 10?
Oh, say 1 to 10.
I think we're somewhere about 7.5 or 8. We're working on the point that why we might not be a 9 or a 10 is that community is a big part of our life, and because we've just moved to this area, we're a little bit lacking on that part of our relationships. So that we're just building those relationships. So we have our needs met, but our emotional needs we're still building on to make sure that we can reach out and have more friends and more volunteer relationships, and
So when we come back in a couple of years, you will have found your people, your communities, and so on, and we'll have an entirely different show, not on a tiny house, but what's it like to rebuild community from a culture that was all separated. All right, is it a deal?
Deal. See you in 4 years.
You're watching Peak Moment. I'm with Logan Smith, and invisibly behind us is Tammy Strobel, who's not able to be in the show, living a simple life, and welcome to their tiny house. Join us next time.